Hey guys, it's Crunch back again. I know, neglectful father, you're all gonna play on that, whatever, the 7 of you that are still here, but we need to have a conversation. Just because America bad does not mean that regime opposing America good. With Trump taking office early last year, about a year ago now, and America seemingly just going on a pre-World War II warpath of every possible worst decision it could make for everybody involved, there has rightfully been a massive spike in the amount of people on the left and elsewhere proclaiming that America is Satan. And make no mistake, most of the time, I think America is Satan. But in proclaiming America's Satan status, can we please not gloss over the war crimes of other imperialist regimes? I think Trump has given a lot of the sort of tankies on the left and the more isolationist America First people on the right an excuse and cover from the public to just say the most insane shit about regimes overseas. And there's one particularly bad instance of that, which I'm going to play a little bit for you now, of a quote-unquote socialist defending Russia, modern imperialist Russia.
Why are people sympathetic to Russia in the Russia-Ukraine war? I'll break it down without sugarcoating, so if you like sugarcoats, keep scrolling. Many of us don't automatically prioritize European lives over African ones, and today Russia continues to offer military and political support to the Sahel states resisting French dominance.
I could go on for hours about how spurious the claim that Russia isn't trying to recolonize Africa is, but that's not the point. The thing is, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what Russia has done for Africa. That does not give them the excuse to bulldoze a developing nation in Eastern Europe. And I find it so funny that creators like this, who will often go on about how they hate quote-unquote liberal identity politics, are fine using it when it comes to comparing groups from Europe and Africa. Unlike this quote-unquote socialist, I care about both Africans and Europeans equally, and I don't think one of those groups has to suffer for the other one to survive.
NATO's expansion eastward is a glaring double standard. The Warsaw Pact ended decades ago, and yet NATO didn't disband. It grew closer to Russia's borders.
There's a great video by Sarcasmatron about how bullshit the Russia just attacked because of NATO expansion lie is. So I'll just link that in the description if you really want the full lowdown on it. But it is insane to justify the invasion of a country because of that. Most of Eastern Europe have been begging to join NATO because of shit like this that Russia does. They invaded Georgia in 2008, they had a crack at Ukraine in 2014, and then again 8 years later. Obviously, the entire subcontinent is going to want defense from the most powerful country on Earth, whether or not they're morally good or not.
NATO is far from a neutral alliance. It operates as the imperial arm of the US military power, shaping pipelines, resource dominance, and trade routes globally, as seen in Libya, Iraq, and several former colonies in Africa resisting Europeans. It is absolutely a threat to your markets to have NATO pull up on your borders, especially when you're deliberately not allowed to join their alliance.
That is the one skerrick of charitability that I will offer this creator. Yeah, we probably should have let Russia join NATO when we had the chance, and it was wrong that we didn't. It still doesn't justify bulldozing a sovereign nation. To which I already know there's going to be some prick in the comments that's like, oh, but America does the same thing too. Well, then I guess everything that every anti-America force has ever done is justified then. You know, everything the Soviet Union did, everything Nazi Germany did, everything fucking the emus in the outback in Australia did, I guess that all just justifies it then.
Russia maintains sovereignty and national industries rather than neoliberalizing everything like the EU. Its government has started to actively target oligarchs now and nationalize strategic sectors more, demonstrating more independence and long-term over short-sighted strategy.
Russia is having to nationalize its industry because its industry is falling apart because of its neoliberal oligarchs. This is hardly an example of the democratic socialization of industry. She tries to justify the gas trade with Russia, saying it's cheaper gas, but like, really? You know, let's engage in a dying industry that's awful for the planet just because it's cheaper, I guess. That's like Sky News level talking points. Anyway, I'm not going to go on any further. I cut out a little bit of the video because there was genuinely just some insane bullshit in there that can be rebuffed with other things that I've said in this video. I will link that video in the description if you do seriously want to subject yourself to 2 minutes straight of that shit. Fucking weirdo. But I think I've gotten my point across, which is that so many people who claim to be progressives or socialists or claim to care about the working class only care about the working class as long as it's not in a country that they don't particularly like. Please make no mistake, this is on the same level as like neoconservative shock jocks in the mid-2000s, supporting George Bush's war in Iraq just because it would get them cheaper petrol prices. It is that anti-intellectual and frankly retarded. Look, I think the point that I really just want to get across in this video is that just because America's interests are fundamentally evil, which they are, does not mean that countries who carry out actions that appear to be opposed to those are necessarily good. Like, Russia invading Ukraine is very similar to the US invading Iraq or Afghanistan. It is an act of imperialist aggression purely for resource gain, no ideological goal of any kind. I think a lot of lefties have this tribal attachment to the Soviet Union, and they secretly think, oh, Putin's trying to put the Soviet Union back together, that's based. And then they try to build this intellectual castle around it to justify it, when like, dude, just be honest, you just want the Soviet Union back. I disagree with that, but I respect you a lot more if you're just honest about that really childish want, and that you like the country that had a red flag, because comrade socialist or whatever. I swear to God, like 50% of people who call themselves communists now are just people that liked Soviet memes in high school and their politics never evolved beyond that point. Anyway, I'm gonna stop ranting now. Thanks for listening, guys. I will hopefully see you before 6 months goes by again. I promise this time I'll do it. For real. Have a good one.